Welcome to the Ministry Chick Network podcast. I'm Melissa Mashburn. The calling is real, so are the hard days. Today, Dr. Brandy Baxter is joining me, and we are closing out June with one honest question. And if you've been listening to any of the episodes this month, you know probably what we're going to say. So let's dig in as we talk about refueling and resting in recovery. Oh, which is, Brandy, you know, this is, here we are, and it's summer, and I know we're coming off a busy season. And yet there's this part of us that keeps wanting to push and to drive and to get things done. And of course, you know, Sunday's always coming. So there's that rhythm of I can catch my breath, but not too long. I got like a day. So all month we've talked about this resting and refuel. A couple weeks ago, we talked about like it looks different for different people. I want to ask you something honest and for the listeners specifically, but we've talked about it. We've been putting it in our clarity queue. We've been putting it everywhere. Has anything changed? Have you heard this whole message of reflect and refuel and said, I'll get to that when I have time? And there's no judgment and no shame and no shade. We both talked about kind of being like a little tired, a little worn down, and all of those things. And so I just want you as a listener to hear this is not we've got it figured out and we hope you catch up with us. We are right there with you working this out in real time. So, you know, hear that's where we're coming from. So one thing that you're actually doing or going to do different this month, Brandy, what are you doing?
Well, I think with it still kind of being summer in the month of July, one thing I am going to start doing is giving myself permission to not do a thing,
Hmm.
whatever that is. You and I spoke before, and earlier this year, I started like really limiting when I check my email. I will go an entire day and not check my email. The people around me hate it, but it has given me such a yeah, I know, right? But it has given me such a break from
Yeah.
just all of that, and it's given my mind a break.
Mm.
And so what I think the balance of this summer, what I want to do is I'm going to just like pick one thing a day and be like, I'm not doing that. And I'm not going to feel guilty about it.
Mm.
And yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. And I think it's important that we realize that as women in ministry, as women who are doers and servants and
Yeah.
caring for so many people, it's really easy to be like, okay, I've got this little bit of space. What can I fill it with?
Yes.
And I think as I've gotten older, maybe, I don't know, more experience, more wisdom, I'm just like, ooh, I've got space. Where can I sit down? What will the environment look like? Is
Yeah.
it going to be Netflix or is it going to be nature? Like, those are the tough questions
Yeah.
I'm trying to ask these days.
That's fair. That's fair. And it's so interesting you say that because I was literally talking to a 20-year-old woman in ministry just a couple of days ago. And I pulled up, I was leaving the parking lot of the church and she was walking in or whatever. And somehow we got on the topic of like, she can't even watch TV because she feels like she needs to be working. And here, you know,
Wow.
it's June, it's the middle of summer or whatever. And she still feels this pull of, I'm going to break. They have laptop parties where they like watch their favorite shows and work. Like they're doing their church work while they're watching. And she said, the problem is we're actually working, but we have no clue what's going on in our shows. And we're not talking to each other because
Right.
we're working. So we're literally in, and I was like, oh, wow. Okay. That's a thing, but I also understand the push and the pull. It's that knowing and doing, right? Like I know I'm supposed to rest, but I have so much to do. Or I know I'm supposed to
Mm-hmm.
take a break, but how am I gonna get this done? And we've been taught in this, habit stacking and, okay, so if
Right.
you wanna listen to a podcast, you get on the treadmill. If I wanna watch a show on Netflix, then I gotta get on the bike, or I need to clean my house or do you know what I mean? Like, we're trying to batch so many things to be okay to sit and reflect and refuel. And so, I love that you have I have a love-hate, but I love that you have put these parameters together around your email, so that you can have some of that. And I think for me, this whole season's been like a whole funky season and everything's out of whack and, still healing, still doing the thing or whatever. And we all have patterns, right? We have these predictabilities and things that we do, and this is normally when we go on vacation. I don't have the bandwidth to feel like it's worth spending any kind of money
Mhm.
or energy to go on vacation when I'm still healing and there's appointments and all these other things. And so I finally just sat with my husband and we talked and I was like, I know this is when we take vacation and I know this is this time for us to rest and refuel. What do you think if we put off vacation until later in the year when we're feeling better, we're rested, and we use the time that we would have taken vacation and we stay home, we take care of the house, we sleep in. And he was like, "Oh, thank you. I've been trying to figure out how we're going to do this because I know because I'm an experienced person. I want to go do things, but that was hard because that part of me is like, this is what we do. This is when we go on vacation. I want to go do all these things. And I had to say, my body is like, um, time out,
Yeah.
um, you know, and
I'm
just
glad you said that,
understanding
Melissa, because
that
even
looks
going back
different.
to yeah, but even going back to, like, the productivity hacks, you have to almost ask yourself, "Why?" Like, why do I need this productivity hack? Um, I'm reminded of several years ago, I connected with this institute that studied traumatic brain injury.
Mm,
And one of the things that for me was a total game changer was the science and the physiology behind this thing that we often get wrong. It
huh.
is physically impossible for your brain to multitask.
Yeah.
Whether you like that or not, your
Yep.
brain is only doing one thing at a time. What happens is because of the beautiful way our Lord designed our bodies, the the space between the switching is so rapid, we
Hmm.
convince ourselves that we are doing two things at the same time. So
That's
back
good.
to the girls with the laptop party, right? It feels like we're watching Netflix and working, but really we're not watching one or the other. If I'm watching my show, I'm not working. They're
Correct.
happening, they're both present in the
At the
same space,
same,
but I'm
yeah.
not engaged with them both at the same time. And so I
Right.
think we have to dial it back and quiet the noise of all these external forces that have tried to, albeit misguided, make us more productive as if we're machines.
Ooh,
We are human beings. And
right.
so being is a state. And we have to
Mm,
just give ourselves the grace to be in whatever state we are in that moment. We don't need to really try to like overload our schedule. The better thing that I'm discovering that less really is more.
yes.
The fewer things on my calendar, the more energy I have. I even recently learned of this thing about mental capacity and the
Yep.
load of our mind. And I think that's something I'm guilty of, right? I forget mind work is still work.
Yes, it is.
And if we're not careful, we'll just keep going and going and going and our brains never get a chance to break, which means it never gets a chance to repair itself. It never
Um,
gets a chance to strengthen itself because it's a muscle. And so we
mm,
now have to realize that some of the things that society has convinced us are helpful, they're really harmful,
yep.
especially when you want to do the good work of ministry.
Yeah.
There's so much more at stake if we're not physically, mentally, and emotionally able to do those things.
Mm. Mm. Well, you are stepping right into my lived-in experience currently as, your calendar says that you have 8 hours in a day, but your body's like, but all 8 hours aren't meant to sit behind a computer and do things, and I think we get into this trap where we feel like, rest and refuel is a waste of time or it mu I've heard this and I've said, "Oh, it must be nice to be able to go sit outside and, recover or whatever," and I think some of that is kinda what you were saying, the conditioning of the world and productivity hacks and stuff like that, but Jesus was never rushed. He wasn't running to the next place and he's like, I've got 7.8 minutes to get to Jerusalem because I'm going to miss my appointment. Like he didn't operate that way. He operated at a slow and steady pace and that's even what has been one of the biggest insights for me in this season is to go everything is not equally important. And
Right.
everything's not even that important. So, what are the main things that God uniquely created me to do? And when is the best time to do them? But more importantly, am I in tune with him? Am I in
Mhm.
step with his pace? Or have I allowed the world to dictate that you've got to go, hustle, do, and girl, I like me some hustle culture. I will admit it. I get sucked into that. And we've talked about it in Ministry Check before. Striving versus striding. There's this whole pace of things. And, you know, I just want to help people listening right now release the guilt. Release the
Mhm.
guilt. Because, I mean, we have a Sabbath. Jesus rested. He took time off to pray. I think I think it was in a clarity cue in June or whatever, where we talked about, Jesus comes back to the disciples and he's like, we need to go away to a place to rest because they had been
Mhm.
so busy that they hadn't even taken time to eat. And that
Mhm.
is not taking care of yourself or your ministry.
Right. No, that's good. And I think too, Melissa, as we look at the summer months, I'm guilty of this. Some of us have kids at home.
Mhm.
Some of us have a rhythm and a rest in our ministries, and so it can look really easy to just fill up that space. But I like what you talked about when you think about the example that Jesus set of rest. And so I'm a fan of practical, right? And so I think you have to just wake up and ask the Lord to give you the grace to put space in your calendar.
Mm,
And it may not be the same thing for every woman, but one thing that we've done this summer is we've been intentional about putting the kids in summer camps. That just gives me a couple of hours where I'm not having to be mom.
yeah,
It also looks like maybe you change how you have your meeting rhythms at work. If you're in ministry, you may not have meetings on Mondays. Sometimes I also don't schedule meetings on Fridays just
yeah,
to bookend my week and give myself the
yes,
intentionality of Tuesday through Thursday, but then just a little bit of breathing room on Mondays and Fridays. So, looking at very practical ways you can change
mhm.
your schedule around can help you break this cycle of I say I'm on a break, but I actually haven't taken any time for rest.
Well, and it's kinda that whole if you do the same thing you've always done, you're gonna get the same results, and so
Right.
if you're walking into this and you're flat out exhausted, y 2 things, I mean, Sunday's coming, right? But fall season is
Mhm.
just not that far around the corner, and you and I both know and you listening know, that's when things ramp back up. It's kinda like the
Yeah.
second new year in the ministry season. So, if you don't take the time this is the summer, whatever it looks like, is your pass to go, "Okay, what can I change? What can I adjust? What do I need? How can I refuel?" And we talked about it a couple episodes ago, and we know that it looks different for other people, but if you're not refueling now, you
Mhm.
will not be able to roll into fall ministry season kickoff
Right.
ready to go and do the work that he's called you to do. Now we know he's called us to do work each and every day, right? But we can get flexible and creative, and this is what we need, and can I adjust my schedule, and can I work from home 2 days, right? So figure out it's not just about taking time to reflect and refuel and rest. It's kind of when you're reflecting and refueling, you're going, okay, I need to tweak a little bit here and adjust a little bit there so that I'm
Mhm.
running in the right lane at the right pace. Big difference.
Yeah. Right. And Melissa, I'm also reminded that we sometimes feel like we need other people to give us permission to do this.
Yeah,
And I believe the ultimate source has given us permission in how he modeled.
yeah,
When you look back at the Old Testament, we often think, "Oh, on the seventh day the Lord rested." Got it. And it's so easy to say, "Oh, well, that was just for him. That's not for me." But if you look at the history of the children of Israel and their practices and their festivals and their rituals and the way they cared for the land, there are regular patterns of rest. And
yeah,
I just think American culture has tricked us into thinking that we don't have to do that. So,
yeah,
one, I want to encourage you. You don't need anyone to give you permission for this. You give
mm,
yourself permission.
yep,
You value yourself enough to say, I'm going to take this for myself. Even if that means making, like Melissa said, a couple of minor adjustments. One thing I've done is I don't have any meetings where I have to talk to another person before 9 a.m. That doesn't mean my workday doesn't start
same.
earlier, but I just
Yeah,
don't need the energy sucked out of me so early in the morning. And so I have to really think about practical ways to say,
yes,
how do I refuel me? Sometimes, even after a morning time of quiet devotion, I need to walk the dog just to soak in some fresh air. What are the things that will refuel you? Melissa knows I'm notorious for having lunch on my back porch, baking in the sun, away from the screens, and just allowing myself to be poured into. And so you should spend some time and say, what are the things that really fuel me,
yep.
and how can I leverage them to help me really get prepared for the upcoming season?
Yeah, I think what I love what you're saying, Brandy, is it's not super complicated, but it's intentional.
Right.
We don't have to have a retreat. We don't have to take a sabbatical. We don't need to take. I'm not saying that any of those things are bad. I love all of them, but I think we make it so complicated and say, well, if I was able to go to a retreat or whatever, I could figure this out. Well, we're all given the same amount of time. If you intentionally know what's filling your calendar, know what fills you up, you and I both do this. We strategically add things to our calendar and block it. It is an appointment. It's an appointment with myself. It's an appointment to
Yes.
have lunch by myself. It's an appointment to have some time alone with the Lord, because we just can't keep going and going and going and expect things to be different. We can't pour from a place that we never let fill. And this is why we've been talking about this all summer long. So this is the time to use it and not wait around for it. Because this is something, if you start it now, it can become a rhythm that is built in and solidified for ministry kickoff in the fall. Not, it doesn't have to be like a whole list of things. We're talking tweaks. Brandy and I like practical application. What if I shift this, that not having calls or meetings before 9 o'clock, because that how it feels you. Not having, I don't do meetings on Monday or Fridays. I squeeze them all Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday so that I have Monday and Friday to kind of reset or prep for the week or close out my week and know what else I need to prepare for. Those are things that you can do. And knowing that and building these rhythms make it a lot more sustainable um, for you. So we've talked about some rhythms. Um, Brandy, what's something, I know you eat lunch outside, but what's something, as we're talking about, you can't pour out if you're not refilling? What's a practical step for somebody listening?
Another practical step I would think about is don't neglect the people in your life that add value to you.
Mm,
A lot of times when serving in ministry, so much of what we do is giving to others. And
yeah.
so we can feel like, I don't want to be around any people. But I've entered into a sweet season where my daughters are a little older and we now have like fun conversations. Their sense of humor catches me off guard. And I'm learning to start seeing them as like young adults. And this summer especially, I've enjoyed having them home more without, having the school schedule. And I surprisingly noticed that that fuels me because
Yeah.
I'm really getting a chance to have a front row seat at who God is designing them to be. And
That's
so it
beautiful.
reminded me that sometimes there are lots of relationships that feel like they're taking from us, but seek out the relationships that are
Yeah.
fueling you, that will pour into you.
Because they will carry you forward as you roll into this next season. That is so, so good and a great way to end this episode. And I'll just say this. You've heard me say it throughout this episode, probably throughout this whole month. It's the summer is coming and we're here and it's going to be over before you know it. And we have this window to where we don't have to do things the same way we've always done them, the same rhythm. We can tweak, we can make adjustments. This is reflecting and refueling and figuring out what it is that feeds back into you. And so that's what we want you to do. We just want to encourage you. Talk about community, Brandy, and you're wrapping it up with this. And I think that's one of the beauty of what we get to do within the Ministry Chick network is we have this robust community of women that get it. And I'm talking these iron sharpened iron friendships and relationships and just having somebody that you can go to that already understands the context of the work that you're doing. And so if you have a ministry budget that you need to use before the end of the year resets, I want to make sure that you understand that the individual membership plan is currently $495 for the year or $45 a month. It's got micro teachings, worksheets, bonus, all the things, right? It's got all the great things and a monthly coaching call. But here's the thing. It was a room that was built for you. And we're going to have information about that. But use this window, not to add in one more thing, but because this is the most important strategic time for you to go, what's working, what's not working, what's missing, what's confusing, and make the adjustments that you need to have a successful launch of your fall ministry season. So glad to have this conversation with you, Brandy. Thank you for showing up and joining us for this. And thanks for listening. If this episode connected with you in any way, shape, or form, please share, like, subscribe to the Ministry Check Network podcast, and we will see you soon on our podcast. Have a good day.